My trip wasn't starting the way I like. I had to be in Minneapolis Thursday and Friday for a convention. When we were younger, Martha, my wife, would take half a day off to make sure I had plenty of good memories to last me the entire time I was away. This time, she simply kissed me goodbye on her way to work. My name is Jake Robinson, JR for short. I am 49 years old and married to my wife, Martha, for the last 24 years. We have 2 children, Ross, 22, and Amelia, 20. Around 3 p.m., I left work and drove to the airport. My flight was at 6 p.m. Since I hated to be late or worry about missing my plane, I always got to the airport early. This time, everything went just fine, and I spent an hour waiting for the boarding call. Because of the poor weather, the plane coming from Minnesota was delayed. A snowstorm was heading our way. After a delay of 45 minutes, we finally boarded. Half an hour into our flight, I sensed the plane bank left. At first, I thought it was correcting its heading, but I soon realized that it was turning around. True enough, the pilot informed us that the snowstorm was making a landing impossible at Minneapolis Airport, and we were heading back home. Back at the airport, I rushed to the airline counter to reschedule for a flight the next morning. I was lucky enough to grab one of the last available seats. I would be late for the convention, but I would get there. As soon as I had a seat confirmed, I got on the phone to inform my contact in Minneapolis that I was delayed arriving and I would be there tomorrow. I also left a notice on my boss voicemail. I then called home, but Martha did not pick up. Although it was a bit after 8 p.m., the house was dark and Martha's car wasn't in the driveway. I guess she decided to work late or go to a restaurant. Now that our youngest child was away at college, the house would feel empty. I left my luggage in the car and went in. I heard voices coming from the living room. Strange. I headed that way, and I realized that the TV had been left on. That meant Martha came back home after work, because I'm sure the TV was off when I left for work. I turned it off and looked around the house for her. No sign of her. I called her cell. She picked up after a few rings. "Hi, honey," said Martha when she recognized my cell phone number. "Hi, sweetheart. Where are you?" I asked. It was such an innocent question. The kind of question I asked so many times in our marriage. I didn't ask it to pry or to be nosy. I simply asked to know where she was. "Where else, dum-dum?" "At home, watching my soaps," she answered, figuratively throwing a pail of cold water at me. "And you? How was your flight? Are you at the hotel yet?" My brain froze. I was tired from the traveling delay. All I wanted was to have my wife back, to rest and to cuddle with her for a few more hours. They were such simple expectations. Despite a delayed flight, I had felt that I was lucky. I would be able to spend some unexpected bonus hours in my bed with my wife. Until 30 seconds ago, I was happy to be stuck home. But instead of coming back to my loving wife of 24 years, I was coming back to lies and deception. I wasn't expecting that at all. I didn't know what to do and I didn't know what to say. Did she really just lie to me? Why would she do that? There was no reason for her to lie to me if she was at work, or with some friends or eating out. My silence must have been long, because Martha asked, "Honey, are you still there?" "Yeah, sorry. We landed in O'Hare and I gotta go," I said, hanging up on her. My phone started to ring almost right away. I didn't answer and turned it off. I needed time to think. Sitting all by myself on the couch, I felt numb. I was trying to figure out why Martha would lie to me. Maybe she's planning a surprise for me. I remember 4 years ago a series of lies I had to tell her. I was planning a 2-week cruise for our 20th wedding anniversary. I involved her boss and her parents. For a month, I repeatedly lied, trying to simply weave my way around the truth. All the lies came to fruition the day we took off for a weekend in Miami and ended up at the dock where I presented her with a pair of cruise tickets. But as hard as I tried, I couldn't find a special anniversary in the months ahead. At best, my birthday and our 25th wedding anniversary would be in 10 months. There was one thought that kept returning but that I relentlessly rejected. I refused to think about it. Not us. Others, yes, they are faced with that. But not us. That's it. I knew one person that would know of any surprise planned by Martha. My daughter Amelia. Turning my phone back on, I was soon speed dialing her number. "Hey Daddy, how are you?" my sweetheart said. "Hi baby, what's up?" I asked. "Nothing much, Daddy. I just finished my homework, and I am now watching TV," she said. "And you? Have you spoken with your mom lately?" I asked. "No, nothing special aside from our weekly phone call on Sunday," answered Amelia. "Sorry to ask, but would you happen to know something about a surprise she would be planning for me?" "Don't tell me what. Just tell me if your mom is planning something," I asked, full of hope. "No, Daddy, nothing at all. Why do you ask?" "Well, she has been acting strange lately, and I was wondering if she was hiding a nice surprise for me. Maybe for my 50th birthday," I told her. "No, not yet, Daddy. Didn't we just celebrate your birthday, like last month?" "Yeah, well forget I asked. Good night, baby." "Night, Daddy." Well, that wasn't it. Why would she lie to me? Maybe it was her coming promotion? Yeah, that's it. I don't know why she would lie about it, but it could be that she was still trying hard to get a promotion. Working for that promotion had kept her stay late so many times lately. She knew that no promotion was worth our lost time together. She knew that I was adamant that she cut back a bit her hours at work so we could be more together. She also knew that I was entitled to ask it, as I had myself refused a promotion in order to be able to spend more time with her and the kids just a few months before our 20th anniversary. Almost 5 years ago, I had vied for and got an offer to become vice president of finance at my company. The only problem was the constant traveling to the head office in Chicago, where the board meetings were held, as well as regular tours of all our plants all over the country. I was ecstatic when I was offered the job, but Martha soon had me thinking twice about accepting it. First, my predecessor ended up divorced within 2 years of his promotion. He ended up rich, but lonely and miserable. My 2 kids still had 2 and 4 years in high school left, and they still needed both parents' guidance and support. Martha didn't relish becoming the only one involved. We talked about it for a full week before I realized that I was about to lose sight of the most important thing in my life: my wife and my kids. I turned down the promotion. That's why I didn't take it too well the last few months when Martha started working really hard toward her own promotion. For Martha, it wasn't the same. The kids were in college, and there was only the 2 of us. Her promotion would mean a bit more traveling, but nothing that would affect our life much. We could probably schedule our own traveling in the same time period to minimize our time apart. The problem was the many hours spent working overtime toward that promotion. Just seeing your wife 1 or 2 hours each day for a whole week wasn't very satisfying to me, and that's without talking about the nosedive in our lovemaking. She even spent many Saturdays and some Sundays at work. When she was home, she was simply totally exhausted. I'm not even sure when was the last time we made love. 3 weeks ago? Last month? We are not young anymore, but it was pathetic. So, I wouldn't be surprised if she were working when I phoned and lied to avoid my complaint. Of course, that is unfair as I was traveling too and understood that some overtime would hurt nobody. Well, there was an easy way to find out. I grabbed my phone and dialed her direct line. T-Bolt Advertising, Robert Turnbull speaking, answered my wife's colleague. I was a bit taken by surprise. They don't work in the same room, and I sure wasn't expecting anybody but Martha to pick up. But Robert was a good guy, and he would tell me if Martha was around. "Hi Robert, JR here." "Hi Jake," answered Robert. He was never able to use my nickname. "Why would you phone me here when you and your wife are spending some vacation time together?" Decidedly, I was going from surprise to surprise tonight. Vacation? What vacation? "Hey, sorry to bother you at work, Robert. I just pressed the wrong speed dial button on my phone," I lied. "No problem, Jake. Just tell Martha that she owes me lunch when she comes back next Monday for covering again for her. See, I am at work, and it is way past 9 p.m. She owes me big time," he said, then he hung up. Not only Martha wasn't working, she wasn't at work at all. From what Robert told me, she was off work for the rest of the week. Now that was starting to scare the hell out of me. Where was Martha, and what was she doing? A thought crossed my mind, unasked for and unwelcomed. Oh no, it can't be. I always refuse to think the worst of people. I prefer to be a positive guy, to look at the bright side of things, to see what is best in each of us. But here I was, thinking the worst. Can it be? Could she do that to me? Could she be with her sister, Nadia? We were estranged from Nadia and Nadia's ex-husband, Mike. Once upon a time, we were really close. We shared evenings together, babysat each other's kids, co-hosted many families gathering, and we even went on vacation together. It all came to an end one day, when I came home with a terrible headache. I took a couple of Tylenol and lied down on the couch. Half an hour later, Martha and Nadia came back from shopping. They were chatting a storm and never noticed me. "Have you noticed the new produce manager at the grocery store?" asked Nadia. "Sure, he's cute if I may say so," said my wife. "And he was all smile with you." "He has better be all smile with the romp we had together yesterday in the back of my van," said Nadia. "Oh Nadia, not again," said my wife. "One day you will get caught, and will lose a good husband and maybe more." "Don't worry, big sister, I'm always careful," answered Nadia. "We go to go. It's time to pick up the kids." And they were gone, leaving me wondering at what to do. I have always been a straight shooter, but in this case, I wasn't sure about the right course of action. I really liked Mike, and I knew that the news of Nadia's cheating would be devastating. I also knew that he would kick her out of the house in a heartbeat. Do I really want to play the bad guy and destroy their marriage? I wasn't able to reach a decision before my wife came back home with the children. I was glad that she disapproved of her sister's cheating, and in a very shrewd way, I decided to leave the decision to her. When we were getting ready for bed that night, I asked her about my dilemma. "Honey, I have a hard choice to make, and I really need your advice," I started. "Let's say that I overheard a conversation today, and that I learned that somebody close to us was cheating, having sex outside the marriage. What should I do? Should I tell on them? Should I get mad at the cheater?" Martha looked at me, unsure at first about what to say. "Well, it might depend on the circumstances. Is it a one-time mistake? Or is it an error while drunk? There is so many possibilities," said Martha. "Let's say for argument's sake that it's Mike, and that he picked up a woman in a bar. I said. And I know it is not the first time either. Should we let it slide and not say anything? Should I talk to him to help him change his ways? Martha suddenly sat straight in bed and grabbed her phone. That a-hole, the two-faced maggot. I'll show you what to do, and I will do it right away. I'll tell Nadia right away that he's cheating on her. I grabbed the phone from her hand. Let me do it, honey. It's my responsibility, I said. Are you sure it's the right thing to do? You bet, I'm sure. I hope she kicks the maggot out of the house. Martha then turned toward me. And we won't let him stay with us. He can find another place. I don't want a cheater in my house. Lucky for me, Mike answered the phone. Hey, it's your favorite brother-in-law here. Sorry to phone this late, but I have something really bad to tell you. I started. Favorite brother-in-law? You're my only brother-in-law, said Mike. What is so important that you phone this late? I overheard a conversation today, and I have very bad news, world-shattering kind of news. Your better half is not all yours, if I may say so. Your spouse is cheating on you. It happened yesterday, and it wasn't the first time either. Mike was silent for a long time on the phone. I can't believe it, he finally said, his voice barely loud enough. Are you sure you were speaking about my Nadia? Yes, I heard the confession from the horse's mouth itself. Bragging is a better description than confessing, if you get my drift. And I didn't hear any sign of remorse. It was like describing a game of hide and seek. I am really sorry to be the bearer of such bad news. I will let you deal with it in your own way, but don't hesitate to phone. We will be there for you and the kids. Thanks, and Mike hung up. Martha had tears at the corner of her eyes. She sadly smiled at me. I am so proud of you, honey. It takes courage to be the messenger of such bad news, said Martha. Can you please hold me? I feel so lost and scared. I took her in my arm and started to rock her gently. I wonder if they will go in therapy, I asked after a little while. I believe it wouldn't do any good, said Martha sleepily. Once a cheater, always a cheater. You're right. I was drifting toward sleep when the ringing of the phone woke me up. Yeah, hello, I said, yawning and speaking softly, trying to avoid waking up Martha. What the hell? What did you tell Mike? Asked the very angry voice of Nadia. Just the truth. I told only the truth, I said, glancing at Martha, who was waking up. I talked about it with Martha this evening, and we decided it was better to tell the truth, however upsetting it might be. I can't believe my sister would rat me out, answered Nadia, her voice full of venom. Sure she would. She was about to do it herself, but I took the phone from her and I decided to tell your spouse myself, I said. We agreed that cheaters should pay the price, whatever that price is. Nadia started to cry. But what can I do? Mike kicked me out of the house, Nadia said between sobs. Well, if you've been kicked out of the house, it is well deserved, I said. But what can I do? Where will I go? Can I come at your place? Asked Nadia. No way. Martha and I talked about it too, and there's no chance that we would offer shelter to a cheater. You're on your own. I can't believe my sister would say that. She loves me, said Nadia. Martha, what do we say to a cheater that asks to come over here after being kicked out? I asked Martha, turning the phone toward her, placing a finger on the opening for the speaker. She had a mischievous smile on her face. Her mouth came closer to the phone. I don't want a cheater in my house. Get lost, Martha said with real pride. I quickly put the phone back to my ear. I'll talk for the both of us and say it only once. You're out of our lives. Stay away from us, don't come and don't phone. If you want a place to stay, go at your parents and try to explain to them why you've been kicked out of your house, I said, and then hung up the phone. Martha began to hold me tighter. I'm real proud of you, honey, Martha said. We drifted to sleep. The next morning, crap hit the fan, as the old Scandinavian saying goes. Luckily, the kids were still sleeping. Martha's dad phoned early and Martha answered. I could hear him yelling at his daughter. Martha lost her initial smile and paled. She was crying when she hung up the phone. What did you do? Asked Martha. What did we do, honey? I asked for advice, and to tell about the cheating was your idea. To cut all ties to a cheating, which was also your idea, and I completely agreed, I said. But you said that Mike was cheating on Nadia. I said, for argument's sake, let's say that Mike picked up a woman in a bar and had sex with her. I didn't say that he was cheating on her. Anyway, what's the difference between Mike cheating on Nadia or Nadia cheating on Mike? I asked Martha. Well, Nadia is my sister, answered Martha. So you say that it is all right for her to cheat on her husband because she is your sister? Is it a family thing? Do I have reason to be worried? I said, exasperation clearly audible in my speech. Martha was speechless. Honey, I'll say it once and you are better to believe me. That sister of yours is a bad role model for our kids. I don't want her around, and I don't want you to have anything to do with her. She is not welcome in this house and around our kids, I said. That was 3 years ago. I know that Martha was still seeing her sister once in a while, but it was a forbidden subject in the house. It was no surprise for me that she would go visit her sister while I was gone, and that she would hide it from me. She was still somebody not very likable, but as Mike bounced back from the drama and was soon to be remarried, a lot of my resentment was gone, and I was glad not to have her around. Martha, "Martha, we should talk about it. It's not a pleasant subject, but it would be easier on us to clear the air." I am pretty sure that she felt bad lying to me about that. When I didn't care anymore, I was facing a crowd of at least 1,000 attendees at the convention. They were all looking at me, an anonymous crowd without faces. I took a deep breath and started my expose. Studies reveal that there are two kinds of people in the world of tissues. There is the first group, the denialists, the people that blow their noses, that don't look down, and dispose of the tissue right away. And there are the people that face reality. They blow their nose and look inside the tissue. Somebody in the crowd was waving its arm to attract my attention. It was Dave Millicent, Martha's boss. "Yes?" I asked. "Well," he said with a smirk, "face this reality. I had sex with your wife." Just behind him, an all-smiling Jake Turnbull stood up. "Me too, I screwed your wife." A third guy, unknown, also stood up. "Me three." And he started to laugh loud. "No, not really. I just always wanted to say that." And the whole crowd started to laugh really loud. 1,000 unfriendly faces smirking at me. I sat up straight on the couch. Damn, I had fallen asleep on the couch. I swiped the drooling on my face and got up. I looked at my watch. It was midnight. I must have dozed off for over an hour. Maybe Martha came back home while I was sleeping and didn't see me, as I wasn't supposed to be here. I went to the bedroom, but there was no sign of her. And then I remembered that she was probably with her sister. I wanted to phone Nadia and ask for Martha, but I realized that if I knew where she lived. I picked up her kids there a few times. I have no idea what was her phone number. Or do I? I gripped my smartphone, and just as I was about to go to my contact list, I saw the app's icon for Find My Phone. I had that installed on both our smartphones last year when I lost mine somewhere between New York City and Cincinnati. In a matter of seconds, I had the location of Martha's phone. Mills Lake? What the hell was she doing in Mills Lake? Nadia was dead broke and certainly had no money to buy or even rent a cottage in Mills Lake. It was a very exclusive community, most cottages worth many times over the cost of our house. I used Google Earth to pinpoint where she was exactly. Her location wasn't in the village proper, but seemed on a very secluded estate surrounded by a large stone wall. What Martha was doing at a millionaire's place. Mills Lake was about an hour drive from town. I had to know what she was doing there. I was not ready for a confrontation, if ever, and I had to find out what she was up to. If I were to simply ask her, she would probably lie, as she already did. Within minutes, I was in my car. All the time I was driving there, I kept kicking my butt for refusing to believe the worst from Martha. I should have looked right away at the GPS locator of her phone instead of finding excuses for her lies. When I arrived at Mills Lake, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what to expect. I kept hoping for a simple explanation. I drove toward the estate where Martha was. Damn, there was a huge gate blocking the entrance, and I sure didn't intend to drive there and buzz the house asking for my wife. I looked around, and a parked car along the road would be an eyesore for the locals and would certainly attract a police car or whatever security guards that was working for this select community. I drove a bit before I found a wooden trail where I could park the car. I didn't even know how I would climb that wall. That's when I realized that the estate was fronting the lake and that there might be a way to access the property from that side. I soon found a pedestrian access to the lake. At the shore, I wasn't even sure at which huge cottage Martha was. I had to keep checking back on the GPS locator. I finally arrived at a big mansion. There were still some lights on at the mansion, but it was coming from the second floor. The first floor was dark. One drape was open and light was pouring out that window. I found a tree and climbed high enough to have a look inside the house. I first saw a man wearing a white terry cloth housecoat. I didn't recognize him at all. He was older than myself, maybe 60. He moved away. A few minutes later, a woman appeared and I instantly understood why Martha was there. It was Nadia. Her own housecoat was open and she looked outside while sipping champagne from a flute. She was naked underneath the housecoat. Well, she was still a very good-looking woman at 40. She still had a flat tummy. So, I was right. Martha was with her sister. I wasn't surprised to learn that Nadia was after a sugar daddy, knowing that the divorce had been hard on her financially. But I didn't really like to learn that Martha was dragged into that kind of life. You never know what can happen with these people. The man I first saw came behind Nadia. He gently grabbed her. He took the glass of champagne from Nadia and left it out of sight on his left. I should have climbed down from the tree to avoid seeing my sister-in-law without her clothes. But I didn't. The old man still had his own housecoat on. The man started acting like an animal. I am really old-fashioned. For me, love and sex are simply two sides on the coin of a union between a woman and a man. What I had just witnessed was totally devoid of love. I didn't like Nadia, but I would never wish something as bad. A bit embarrassed by the sideshow, I was about to climb down when the couple moved away from the window. That's when I caught a glimpse of Martha. She was sitting on a couch further back in the room, a silly drunken grin on her face. My heart froze. Her housecoat was not only open. It was open all the way down to her hips, held in place only with the belt. A second man approached her, opened his housecoat. Martha sealed the fate of our marriage when she put her drink down and kissed this man. I was so shocked that I took a step backward and fell from the tree. Branches broke my fall, and I wasn't hurt too much when I landed. Luckily, no one heard my fall, or no one was bothered that I fell. Like a zombie, tears streaking down my face, I limped my way back to my car. I was hurt. Really, really deeply hurt. Not from my fall from the tree, but from my fall from grace, from the loss of my love. I thought for a few seconds to rush to the cottage, break down the door and cause as much mayhem as I could. But the idea of spending the next 3 to 5 years in jail for breaking and entering and for assault was not very appealing to say the least. A mix of emotions was fighting in my head as I walked alone through the night. There were no more denials in me. There was just a sense of loss, an immense sadness, and a rising anger that I didn't dare risk to let loose unless it overwhelmed me and screwed my life even more than it was. I knew that even if my anger turned to rage, I would never do something that would physically hurt Martha. But I almost did. I could have simply driven home, packed my stuff and left her, living in a no-fault state, with our own wages and no more underage kids living at home. The divorce would be straightforward. Split everything 50-50 and bye-bye, 304. But I needed a little payback. I played a few minutes with an idea and decided to go for it and see how it would play out. I took my phone and dialed Martha's number. As expected, she didn't pick up and I got her voicemail. I was hoping that she would check her voicemail immediately after I left it, just in case. "Hey honey," I said. "You didn't pick up the house phone, so I am now trying your cell? I just wanted to tell you not to panic when you hear my keys in the door in a few minutes." It was a crazy evening with a snowstorm diverting our plane toward Chicago, then finally being sent back here. They are not sure exactly when we will be landing, but I should be home 30 minutes after that. See you shortly. Now she must have heard the ping sound telling her that she had a voicemail. As we were in the middle of the night, she must be curious and distraught enough to receive a message this late. That is really out of character for me. Now she is reaching for her phone and going to voicemail. Please let her be drunk enough not to realize that I couldn't have used my cell phone in the plane. Now she is in a panic mode. She is about to get caught. She is not sure, but she thinks that she might just have time to jump in the car and beat me back home. All the while, she is dressing up real quick and probably answering questions from her sister and her lover. My phone startled me when it started to ring. I didn't think about it. It made sense that she would try to figure out exactly when I would be home. "Hi honey, sorry if I woke you up," I said. "It's all right. Are you on your way home?" asked Martha. "I should be there in about an hour, give or take a few minutes," I answered, knowing that it would be touch and go for her to beat me back home, but doable. Will she bite? "Okay, see you then," she said and hung up. Within a few minutes, I saw her car coming from the estate's gate and drive rather fast toward the interstate. Damn, she almost ended up in the ditch. She must be drunker than I thought. It is one thing to play with Martha. It is another one to sit here while she might be involved in an accident and kill some innocent strangers. I was mad at her, but not at the risk of the life of the mother of my children. Think fast. Think fast. 911, what's your emergency? I would like to report a drunk driver. The car almost ran into me then sped away, swerving like crazy. It just got on the interstate at Mills Lake heading south. It's a dark blue Ford Taurus and I got the 4 last digits on the license plate. It's 7714. Somebody better stop that car before the driver kills somebody. I was thanked for my assistance and reassured that a patrol car would be checking the drunk driver. I kept my distance and followed Martha. 2 exits later, I saw a highway patrol car way up on a bridge over the freeway. As soon as Martha's car came into view, it took off and headed back on the interstate. Sure enough, they pulled Martha over. I passed them. 45 minutes later, I was back home. It is almost funny if it wasn't so sad that in a matter of one night, the life of one of the persons I loved so much would become of no consequence. I really had to take a few seconds to weight the possibility that Martha might die in a car crash and the sadness and misery my children would suffer. Nowhere was my love for her a factor in the decision I made. Not that I didn't love her anymore, but that I wasn't able to see our lives going forward together. I turned the house phone ringer off and turned my cell phone off. I needed to think. I can't believe I spent the last hours trying to find an explanation to Martha's lie, when the obvious one kept jumping in my face. I opened a bottle of wine and tried to figure out what I would do. For years I believed that my love of Martha would be like a good bottle of wine, that it would reach its peak with age. As it is, it seems that it turned to vinegar. I loved that woman so much that the pain of her betrayal was killing me. No, it's not only the betrayal that was killing me. It was also the discovery of the loss of our love that was killing me. Without that love, I was nobody. I was nothing. It had defined me for the last 26 years, 24 as husband and wife. Can I survive that? Wouldn't it be less painful to just go to the next bridge and simply jump off it? I never thought that I would have to plan a life without Martha. I didn't know how to start about it. I never made decisions without first discussing it with Martha. Now I couldn't even contemplate the idea of speaking to her. It's simple. My family has been my whole life. Every single decision has been made thinking about my wife and my kids. Even our social life was focused on the needs of our family. I didn't congregate much with my fellow workers. I attended social functions like the annual Christmas party and such, but I was always heading home right after work. I could count on the fingers of one hand the times I had gone out with people at work over the last 10 years. With the kids now out of the house, it was only Martha and I. Now it was only I. I was left alone with my grief. I was left alone with nobody to love. Alone for the first time in my life. Why did she do that to me? Why the deception when a simple divorce would have been still painful but more respectful of all the years and happy moments we shared? When did she stop loving me? Was she only staying with me till the kids grow up and leave? When did she stop caring? I saw the departure of our kids as an opportunity to concentrate more on Martha and on us. It seems she saw it as the end of the road for us. My thinking wasn't that clear, but I now realize that she probably didn't know how to break it up. Somewhere, I think she still cared about me. Unless it was only cowardice. I kept seeing that stranger having sex with her. The way she kissed him, without hesitation, and started to have sex, showed me how comfortable they were with each other or how easy it was to cheat on me. Martha and her lover. Me alone without love brought only one thought. We were dead as a couple. Amidst my despair, my pain was a link to life. Pain reminded me of my loss, of better moments, of my kids. I must think about them. My kids saved me that evening. I didn't have enough self-esteem left to extract me from the deep well of my despair. My kids did it. The though of them helped me cling to a little bit of self-preservation. Ross and Amelia will soon get married and start their own families. I realized that I wanted to be the grandpa to spoil their many kids. I just won't do it with Martha. I had to get away from all that before the grief kills me. It wouldn't be very hard, just painful. I know that I will always remember Martha the way I loved her. I know that I will also always remember her having sex with another man. I had to get out of Dodge. I had always been a man of modest expectations. My parents were not rich, but I grew up in a very loving family. I could do without all the flashy stuff I now owned. Thinking about everything we owned, my clothes, my car, and my laptop were the only things I would take with me. The more I thought about it, the more obvious the resolution of my problem was. I'll pack up my stuff and disappear. I don't want to set my eyes on the woman I once loved more than life itself. The sight of her would just remind me of what I lost and of my constant pain. I got up, grabbed a few bags, and started to put all my clothes in it. It took me only 30 minutes. I had all the bags in my car in a matter of minutes. It was close to 6 a.m. when I finished packing. I then took a nap, as I was confident that Martha would remain in the drunk tank till mid-morning. I slept like a rock, and my phone alarm clock woke me up at 9 a.m. After making an emergency appointment with my lawyer, I took a shower, removed my wedding ring, and left it on the table beside my phone. I decided to take a few minutes to write a Dear Jane letter. We had nothing to talk about, but I had to vent my disappointment. Martha, I should have known that you would turn like your sister. A stupid, oversexed, lonely, divorced woman. Genetic, I guess. By the time you read this, I will be gone from your life, never to see you again. I loved you so much that your betrayal hurt like crazy. I never thought that I could hurt that much. For the 24 years of happy life together, and thankful for the 2 kids you gave me, I will be fair and quick so you can go back to your lover. I just wish you had been as fair and divorced me before you went cheating around on me. Did you get paid? The guy seemed loaded if I can judge by the mansion you were in. I don't wish to see you or to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about. My lawyer will contact yours and just sign the divorce papers. JR. P.S. Screw you. At 10 a.m., I was at the bank. I paid up our joint credit cards and canceled them. I had the bank make a cashier check for all our savings and CDs and transferred just enough money in the checking account to cover the mortgage and utility bills for the next 2 months. I then removed my name from the joint account. I left the bank with a check worth close to $250,000. I was at my workplace just before noon. My boss was surprised to see me as I was supposed to be in Minnesota. He was even more surprised when I announced that I was quitting and moving out of town. My relationship with my boss is special. He is my boss because I refused the promotion, and he felt a bit awkward about it at first, feeling indebted to me. When he went through a divorce 2 years ago, I came in his office and told him that it was the reason I refused the promotion. Since then, we have been more equal partners than boss and employee. Listen, Jake, I have a proposition for you, he said. I'll accept your quitting from your current position, but I won't ask HR to terminate the employment and write you a check for your 401k. Instead, I have an opening in our new optics division in Tucson. It pays less than you make now, but I hear that you can find a decent place at a very good price out there. We shook hands on that deal after he agreed to spread the rumor that I had quit my job. Next, I stopped at my lawyer and explained that I was leaving Martha, plain and simple. He was to serve her with divorce papers and give her a power of attorney so she could sell the house. That would become her 50% share of our wealth. My attorney tried to talk me into counseling, as he was also a friend of the family, but he rapidly understood that I would be out of town, out of state, and out of a wife by midnight. By the end of the afternoon, I was on the road. I was very tired and stopped around 8 p.m. at a rather decrepit motel. Hey, what do you expect for a $60 a night motel? All I needed was a place to crash. I dialed Ross' phone number on a throwaway phone I bought earlier. Hello. Hi Ross, it's Dad, I said. What's that phone number, Dad? Asked Ross. Well, save it. It is my new phone number, I said. Any news from your mom today? No. Why? Well, I have to be direct with you, Ross, I said. I caught your mom cheating yesterday. Oh, damn, Dad. Not her too. What are you gonna do about it? It's already done, Ross. I packed my stuff. I cleared the bank accounts, leaving enough for her till she sells the house. I quit my job and I am on the road, heading south. I'm done with her. I will give her the freedom to screw around, but it won't be as my wife. She will be served with divorce paper later this week. There was a long silence on the line. Does Amelia know? Ross asked. No, not yet. Everything happened so fast. You're the first one to know. I'm not even sure if your mom knows yet that I left her. She wasn't around when I packed, I said. I'll phone you regularly. Keep me informed. Another silence. I love you, son. I am bushed and I need to go. Love you too, Dad. My phone call to Amelia was as sad. It was crushing my two kids to learn what their mother did to us. They had seen what the damage Aunt Nadia did to her family and, like me, they couldn't understand that their mother would do the same thing to us. I wonder how long she had been doing this, Daddy, said Amelia, always straightforward. How long it was that we were not enough for her anymore. It doesn't matter, honey. I just wish she had been honest with me and divorced me before cheating. Now it doesn't matter for how long or why. To me, all that matters was that I loved her, that I trusted her with my life, and that she betrayed that trust. Nothing else matters anymore, I said. Please, don't talk like that, Daddy. Tell me you will be fine. I am all right now, very sad. But I will get over it if I can avoid all contact with your mother, I said. I will let you know where I live. Can I come stay with you after my school year? Asked Amelia. I had tears in my eyes when I promised her that she would always be welcome to live with me. The division in Tucson was small with only 30 employees, and the district manager was more a father figure than a ruthless boss. I liked the instant familiarity of the crew, and they made me feel welcome. Within a month, I had my eyes on a nice condo. I never was in contact with Martha, but I had regular news from my attorney and my kids. Moving on was anything but easy. There were some instances where it was really hard. First, my attorney informed me that she was ready to contest the divorce. She said that she didn't want a divorce and was ready to fight it to the end, even if it would bankrupt both of us. Fine, I told my lawyer. Forget the divorce. I don't care. It was only to give her a chance to move on with her life for the 24 years of happiness we shared together. Just tell her I don't want to have any more dealings with her, to have a nice life, and that I say go choke on your spit. Can you say that? Because you are my friend, it will be a pleasure, but I will still bill you an extra $50, said my attorney. It was a bit harder dealing with the kids. One by one, I had to convince them that there was no turning back. The first snag was with Amelia. Dad, Mom went crazy when I told her I was going to live with you this summer, said Amelia. I told her that I would come and visit, both her and Grandpa and Grandma. She was so weird that I had to avoid my phone for days. Martha also went the deep end when Ross decided to split his summer between her and me. I never inquired about Martha. It was my way to move on and get on with my life. It was hard because I still had some feelings for her, mostly feelings about our lives before the betrayal. However, the kids keep giving me information about her. To my surprise, it seems that she was as depressed as I once had briefly been. That's simply unbelievable after what happened with her sister. It's simple. You cheat, it hurts the people you were supposed to love, it destroys your marriage, and you move on with your life. How could she be depressed when I went out of my way to make sure that she could move on without having me around? Her refusal to divorce seemed a way to avoid facing the fact that her behavior caused the destruction of our family. Stupid, isn't it? I had been in denials for a few hours. She has been in denials for the last 2 years. Knowing that the kids spoke regularly with me, she used them to convey her apologies for her behavior. From the information provided by my kids, I learned that it had been the first time she had let herself dragged by her sister into a sexual escapade. I didn't really believe it. She apologized to the kids, and indirectly to me, for her betrayal. She admitted that it was intentional, that she knew well what would certainly happen if she went with Nadia, her lover, and a male friend of his. She told the kids of her shame when she thinks back about that evening. She had cold feet for a while but decided to drink heavily to alleviate her shame and guilt. When she got my voicemail about my imminent return to the house, she had just finished having sex with her blind date. She was drunk when the highway patrol took her to the drunk tank. She believed that I would reconcile with her if she atoned long enough for her betrayal, and if she could let me know that she loves me. Through the kids, she tried to convince me that she would do anything to show me her love. I knew that the kids hoped that I would reconcile with her, but I didn't find it in me to even contemplate to speak with Martha. The fact that I was living so far away from their mother was also hard for them because they had to make a choice, her or me. Martha was always after the kids to tell her where I was living. All she knew was that it was in a southern state. Almost 3 years after I left her, she finally discovered where I was. One day, as I was leaving work, I saw her stalking the office. I was certain of my kids, so I didn't know how she was able to discover the city where I lived. I knew from my kids that she was sure that I would change my mind if she could meet me. I sure wanted to change her mind about that. She didn't see me because I left from a side door. I grabbed my phone and punched a number. "Hi, Louisa," I said. "You remember what I was telling you about my ex-wife? Well, she's here and will probably follow me back home. Be prepared. See you in a bit." I managed to walk in sight of Martha so she would follow me. When I pulled from the parking lot, I had Martha close on my tail. I drove around town a bit, stopped at the grocery store, then headed back home. Arriving home, I pulled into the driveway of my condo. I didn't have to get my keys as Louisa, a very pretty Latino woman in her early 30s, opened the door to let me in. 2 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Louisa, a toddler of 12 months on her hips, went to open the door. From my vantage point in the kitchen, I could see the surprise of Martha. "See," welcomes Louisa, and she added with her heavy Spanish accent, "How can I help you?" "Hi. I would like to speak to Jake," said Martha. "Why, somebody at the door for you," yelled Louisa. As I was coming from the kitchen, acting as if I was surprised, Louisa handed me the toddler. "You take care of your daughter now while I finish the supper," said Louisa. I took the young one and turned toward Martha. Well, I can't say I never expected that, but it is still a surprise," I said, sarcasm dripping from my voice. "You know that I should thank you for what you did." Martha was looking at me, speechless. "If you hadn't betrayed me, I would never have moved in this part of the country, and I would still be in the cold, surrounded by concrete back in the Northeast. Now I live here, I have a beautiful mistress, and I am starting to build up new family memories with Louisa and Tamarita, my young daughter." Martha was openly crying. After that long a time, my sorrow and my anger were gone. I was tempted as an empathetic human being to comfort her, but it passed. I was on a mission. "So Martha, what do you want after almost 3 years?" I asked. I had to listen carefully to what she said as it was hardly above a whisper. I needed to apologize. I needed to tell you how sorry I was for what I did and for how much I did hurt you. I needed to tell you that it was never about you, but only about how stupid I became. I needed to tell you that I loved you then, despite everything I did, that I love you now, and that I will love you forever. You were the best husband and father a woman could want. I was just a cheap tramp. I'm sorry for what I destroyed." Her apologies were getting at me. It was time to finish that charade as soon as possible. "Well, no harm done," I said, faking to be in high spirit. "Water under the bridge, as the saying goes. It has been so long since I thought about that I can say for sure that I forgive you. I wish you a very happy life," I said while looking at Tamarita in my arm. She was all smile. "A life as full of love as mine is." Tears streaking down her face, Martha mumbled something, came to me, gave me a small hug, and fled the house. I closed the door behind her. Louisa came out of the kitchen and grabbed Tamarita. I leaned my back on the closed door and let my own tears flow down. Louisa gave me a heartfelt hug, kissed my forehead, and picked her phone. "I'm better let Horacio know that I will be back home soon with his daughter," said Louisa. "Thank you, Louisa," I said. "And tell Horacio that I am expecting you 3 for a barbecue Saturday." "Will do, boss. See you tomorrow at the office." The following week, my attorney received the divorce papers signed by Martha. I am certainly moving on, but at my own speed. I have a few female friends, intimate with only one, but nothing serious. I think that I am finally getting over what happened to me. I am definitely less skittish when a woman moves in my vicinity. I know that I should give carte blanche to Louisa to set me up with a nice young woman, and now I believe that I will just do that. However, after that visit, I am second-guessing myself. I am second-guessing not about leaving Martha, but I always thought that I had nothing to talk about with Martha, that she knew exactly what I thought about a cheating spouse and the way to deal with it. But having heard a bit from Martha, maybe I should have confronted her at the time, even if I always hated confrontation. I know one thing for sure. It was better for me to just disappear as I did. I loved her so much that if I had confronted her, I would probably have believed her remorse and heeded her apologies. And I would probably have lived a miserable life of distrust before going through the divorce route. But now, 3 years removed from her betrayal and our live together, Martha's apologies helped me feel like I can now really move on. It was the closure I needed. I can let go of my pain and start again to believe in love. One day, I might even let her know that I don't really have a second daughter. I just might, but I doubt it. I don't owe her anything anymore. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.